In 1944, as you well know, the trains were speeding across the tracks, filled with Jews from Hungary. Hitler, instead of trying to win the war, focused now on destroying every Jew left in Europe. And on this train, this particular train, on Erev Rosh Hashanah in 1944, were mostly teenagers, your age, from Budapest. The cargo on this train was 1,600 or so, a little more, teenagers. And when the train pulled up on that ramp, right which you walked along a few hours ago, and the train pulled up, and Raus, Raus, out! And the German shepherds were barking at them, nipping at them. They all jumped off the train. And they had them line up in the order by the selection as you walked by. And the Nazis played a very sadistic game that day. Instead of having the traditional selection, right, left, looking how strong you looked or how healthy you were, the Nazis simply hung a bar about so high. And if you were tall enough to reach the bar, you were sent to life. But if you were too short under the bar, immediately you were sent to the left. 1,600 teenagers failed the bar. And they were sent to their death. That day, though, the gas chambers was experiencing a backup in operations. And they couldn't handle 1,600 teenagers in one proceeding. So the Nazis took those 1,600 teenagers and locked them up in the barrack right over here. One of these barracks right where we're standing. A father of one of those children heard that his son was slated to die in the gas chamber. And he heard that he was here in one of these barracks with no chance of survival, just waiting for his death. And he approached the door. The two capos slept right in the entranceway. And he said to the capo, I will give you whatever you want, no matter how much money you want, no matter what you ask for. I will pay you. Please save my son. Save my child. I can't bear to watch him go to his death in the gas chamber. And the capo said, fine. I will take your bribe, but on one condition. 1,600 children are here. 1,600 have to die. If you can find me one teenager to replace him with, if you find someone else to kill instead, I'll let you save your child. Can you imagine? So the father didn't know what to do. Of course he wants to save his child, but to send someone else to their death? So there was a rabbi in the camp, Rabbi Meisel's. And this father went to him and said, Rabbi, this is the story. Can I save my child? Can I bribe the capo and save my child from the gas chamber? Rabbi Meisel's looked at him and began to cry. He said, what do you want me to tell you? Your son should die? Do you want me to tell you you should kill someone else? I don't understand how I can answer this question. You make the decision on your own. You decide to watch your son die or kill someone else. Let it be your decision. The father said, Rabbi, how can I make this decision? I need your help. I need your guidance. Tell me what to do. The rabbi said, if you're asking me, I shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. And so the man said, fine. And he began to cry. And he lifted his hands up to heaven and said, God, just as you asked Abraham to sacrifice his child, I see you're asking me to sacrifice mine as well. And if that's what you want, if that's what you're asking me to do, I will do it. And so he let his son stay in this barrack. The next day, Rosh Hashanah approached. And the same Rabbi Meisel's was walking by this barrack. And what do you think he hears? It's these teenagers, these precious Jewish teenagers your age, who realize that they only have a few hours left to live. But what are they doing in those last few hours? It's Rosh Hashanah. You know what they're doing? They're praying. What else do we do in Rosh Hashanah? So they begin to pray, and one of them notices the rabbi walking by and says, Rabbi, maybe you have a shofar? Maybe you smuggled one in to the camp? Everybody else actually had a shofar. He actually had it. And so the rabbi said, I'm going to get you the shofar, and I will come back. And I will come and blow the shofar for you, so you can do this incredible, amazing mitzvah in your last few moments on earth. The rabbi's son said, Father, no, don't do it. What if you're here in the barrack when the capos come to take them out? You're going to be killed as well. How can you do that? How can you sacrifice yourself? How can you come into the barrack and blow the shofar? Who knows what will happen to you? The rabbi said, what should I do? Should I not blow the shofar for them? These are teenagers your age. The last thing they want with their last day on earth is to pray, to blow shofar, to sanctify, to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. How can I not do that? And so sure enough, the rabbi came back with the shofar and made his way into the center of the crowd. And he began to blow for them some sounds of shofar.
Second.
And after he blew the sounds for them, and he began to leave, he began to walk out quickly, leaving before the capo came back. But the children would not let him go. Said, Rabbi, please, we only have a few more hours left to live. Can you please pray with us a little bit? Can you sing with us a little bit? Let us enjoy the last few moments on Rosh Hashanah with you in prayer to God. And they began to sing, they began to pray.
We're not allowed.
Place in time again. Place in time again. If not now, tell me when. Let's just sing that again. If not now. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment. We may never see this place and time. Place and time again. If not now, if not now, tell me when. I've seen sorrow, I've seen sorrow, trouble in this land. I've seen sorrow and trouble in this land. It's going. I've seen sorrow and trouble in this land. Although there will be struggle, although there will be struggle, we'll make the change we can. We'll make the change we can. If not now, if not now, tell me when. If not now, if not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see. We may never see this moment or place and time again. If not
To light the final candle, we'd like to call the survivors that are here in the room with us to light the last candle, our last link between our past and our present and hopefully our future. So Paul and Max, will you come up and please light this candle together?
Galan immigrated to the United States as a teenager with his parents in 1951. After completing his high school education, he went on to the City College of New York, where he earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in film and history. He had spent all of his working career in New York's film industry as a director of documentary television programs for ABC News and independent broadcast groups such as Westington Broadcasting and Capital Cities Broadcasting. His television work had earned him 2 Emmy nominations, the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Award in Journalism, and numerous other professional industry recognitions. On his retirement in 2006, he decided to put his skills as a communicator towards disseminating the memory and the legacy of the Holocaust by sharing his own story of survival during that dark period in history with student as well as adult audiences. He also produced several video projects dealing with the Holocaust.
Complicated as a whole unit. But basically, I grew up in a family of 5, my parents and twin sisters and myself, in a small city in Slovakia. I don't know how much you're familiar with European history in World War II, but thank you very much. Slovakia became a pro-Nazi ally of Nazi Germany, and they adapted all the laws pertaining to the Jews of Europe. The Nuremberg laws, and later followed the rules of the I'm drawing a blank on the conference that they held, Wannsee conference, where they decided on the method of accomplishing the final solution. So very briefly, in the town we lived in, things began quite early on. We lived not far from here, as a matter of fact, in Slovakia. We drove it once. It took us less than 4 hours from from my hometown to Krakow. That was in the 1990s. The Slovak population was not a Jew-loving population, and they were very much instrumental in working along with the government and the Nazis in getting rid of their Jewish population. We got caught up in that. We had a horrendous experience in a transport that we were rounded up for in 1942, where I saw many people getting beat up by the police. It was actually militia, black uniform militia, whose sole function was the persecution and enforcement of all the anti-Jewish laws. Being rounded up at one time was really traumatic. Memories that were with me for many, many years. Watching my father getting beaten up, watching Orthodox Jews and ultra-Orthodox Jews being beaten up beyond anyone's imagination. I was a 7-year-old kid when I saw all this. And the guards were having fun doing it, beating up people and cutting their beards off with bayonets and humiliating them in other ways.
And talk, and you will definitely hear a little bit of that tonight, more later on throughout the week. I'm not going to spoil his story for you, but I'll give you a brief overview. He was born in Warsaw in 1928. If you do the math, he's 91, but he's actually the youngest 73-year-old you'll ever know. He was born in Warsaw. He was part of the Warsaw Ghetto. And then he went on to Majdanek, Budzin, Milik, Wieliczka, and Flossenburg. I'm very proud of myself for all that, by the way. He was liberated while doing a death march from Flossenburg to Dachau by the U.S. Army. And we'll get more into that with his story. But because tonight is about remembering the past and honoring the past and looking forward to the future, thinking about the future, I'm going to kind of hit on what he's doing now. After retirement from his job that he began after many years in the States, he is now working, not getting paid, by telling his story through the Holocaust Museum, as well as nationwide and worldwide, as we are in Poland right now, and he's going to tell it. He is a live board member at the Holocaust Museum in Dallas, and he's also a founding member. More than that, the Show Off Foundation, which is made by Steven Spielberg, they came in one week, I think it was a week, right? And they filmed him with 19 cameras to make a 3D hologram that will be in the new Dallas Holocaust Museum opening in September. He is legend, wait for it, Derry. Please.
Last one I saw was in Fort Hood, Texas, Thursday, a week ago, where I sat next to the general, and after I got finished, he handed me a medal. I didn't bring it with me, but it's in Dallas, if anyone is going to see it. I retired in 2004, and ever since then, I've made 14 trips on the March of the Living, and I live it at that. When I retired, I said that if I do any testimonies, they're going to be delivered in a way that it does not create hate. The same hate that was applied toward us, and somebody heard it, and I think Rabbi Tenenbaum called me from the United Nations and said that quote was in the United Nations. My granddaughter say I was born in 1928, and on September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland with a new type of warfare called Blitzkrieg. They bombed 85% of the western part of Poland. The city of Warsaw had a large Jewish population, and I don't believe too much in percentages, because some of them say 3.5%, some of them have 4%. Regardless of what it is, we are human beings, and we're not up percentages, because 0% is still 0. The moment the Germans occupied Warsaw, they took away any right that you had by enforcing the laws that they made in 1933. If you were a Jew, you had to register. You shouldn't own any property. If you were a professional person, a teacher, a scientist, you couldn't practice your profession to the public at large. Children couldn't go to school. Elderly were humiliated and killed on the streets. The beard burned. Handicapped, dealt the same way. The thing that was really hurting the Jewish people, the elderly, were Orthodox Jews. They were recognizable and being humiliated on the streets, in the public, which was a double way, a physical and a psychological way that the Germans treated us.